I would like to welcome everyone to the Henry County Zoning Advisory Board meeting June 13, 2024. I would like to advise all that this meeting is being broadcast live on Spectrum Channel 180 and on the Henry County website. For anyone wishing to speak tonight, a total of 10 minutes will be allowed to speak in favor of a case and 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. For example, if 10 people wish to speak, they must share the 10-minute slot. We will now hear an invocation by Mr. Richardson.
I just want to thank you for coming out to the June 13th Zoning Advisory Board meeting and participating. I appreciate you for coming out and participating in this service. Now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Can I get a motion to accept the agenda?
Make a motion to accept the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Staff, do we have any comments?
Yes, sir. We have introduced you to our new intern, Jalen Williams. He's at Tennessee State University. He's here with us for the summer, studying in their, I'm going to say urban planning. So welcome, Jaden. You'll see him a few times this summer.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. Welcome. Glad to have you. Does that conclude your comments, staff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If that concludes your comments, let's call the first case.
ER 2404, Factory Direct Demodeling of Atlanta of Woodstock, Georgia, requests a variance for property located on 209 Amber Street and landmarks 143 and 144 of the 6th District. The property consists of 0.49 plus or minus acres, and the request is for relief from development standards. District 5, presented by Heidi Lyhut, Planner 1.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Chair, board members, and citizens of Henry County. The item before you is for property located at 209 Danvers Street within the Crown Manor subdivision. The request is for a variance to reduce rear yard setbacks from 40 feet to 26.4 feet for the purpose of a screen room. The subject property is shown in your exhibit books and on the overhead projection. This slide shows the aerial view of the property. The current zoning is PD, planned development with an underlying PAW designation of R2 Single Family Residence. This is a site plan submitted by the applicant. The property was rezoned as part of a larger request from RA, Residential Agricultural, to PD, planned development with an underlying part of R2, on November 19, 2002, with conditions. As mentioned earlier, the request is for a variance to reduce the rear yard setbacks for a screen room. The proposed variance request is for relief from the development standards of the Crown Manor subdivision to reduce the rear yard setback requirement from 40 feet to 26.4 feet. The final plat for the Crown Manor subdivision specifies a 40 feet rear setback. Staff recommends denial of the applicant's request for relief from development standards to reduce the rear yard setback from 40 feet to 26.4 feet. Thank you, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does the board have questions for staff?
Not at this moment.
Okay. If not, we'd like the applicant to come forward. Sir, please state your name and address for the record. Yes.
Michael Waddell, I'm the GC with Factory Direct Demodeling.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything to add to staff recommendation?
Yes, we, my I don't know if I can show photos
Sure.
or not, but okay.
You can.
I've built quite a few screen rooms in this subdivision already. And apparently one side of the street versus the other has different setback for zoning requirements, which we were unaware of. We were doing 2 screen rooms at the same time. And unfortunately, we kind of started this one prior to the realizing there was a zoning issue. And so, and I have pictures of the project itself. I also did the one right next door and the one right across the street. The one right across the street has a much lesser setback than this one does, and it was never an issue. But I guess it's because when they did the rezoning, one side of the street has one setback and the other side has a larger setback. But there's tons of space back here. It's not like it's close to the fence like the sheds or anything else, and I don't see why they wouldn't be allowed a screen room in their backyard. Other than that, that's pretty much all to add. We didn't encroach or add any concrete. We're just covering the existing concrete slab that's in their backyard and enclosing it with screen.
Okay. Well, thank you. Does the board?
Can I show this photo?
Sure.
Okay.
It should be, you can place it right there, sir.
okay.
There's a camera there.
You gonna be able to see it?
Yes.
Flip it the other way. Flip it.
So this is a,
There we go.
so it's easier for me to go this side then. Thanks. Obviously my first time here. This is the room that we're discussing. As you can see, we made the mistake. We were halfway through before we realized there was an issue. So unfortunately, this room is built. So at this point, we'd be dealing with either I have to remove it or getting a variance. We try to follow protocol and permit everything. So this will be the 5th one in the subdivision. Oh, thank you.
Yes, of course.
So the photo you see here is the existing room. That's also a view, so as you can see, we're nowhere near any property lines or anything. This house sits on a curved road, so it does create the back corner of the house as kind of an awkward angle, so that it's the same distance from the street. But that's the current situation that we're trying to get approved. Do you guys have any questions?
No. Are you finished, sir?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Does the board have questions for the applicant?
Is there an HOA in this subdivision?
Yes, sir.
What is their status of the request for the applicant? For the homeowner, I
It's
should say?
approved. We've done, like I said, quite a few in the subdivision. I have pictures of all the other houses as well.
Did they approve it? That's what I guess I'm asking.
Yes, sir.
HOA did? Okay.
Here's the... This is the one right across the street. As you can see, it's only less than 25 to the fence, and this was done in 2014, I believe. We permitted that, and that one was about the same time period, Mr. Rackley, when, do they come up, or are they supposed to stay there? That's the homeowner.
Okay. We'll give them an opportunity to speak.
Oh, okay. This is his brother's house that we also screened in right next door. So in one of your photos that you guys have, it's showing that as well. And then this photo is actually from the driveway of the completed other one, and you can see how close the houses are together. So all 3 of these rooms are just
Okay.
150
All right.
feet apart.
All right, thank you. Does the board have additional questions for the applicant? If not, we have 6 minutes, roughly 7 minutes for anyone wishing, I'm sorry, Mr. Richard.
Has this gone before the architectural committee for the subdivision, or?
Yes, sir, all of these rooms have gone through the HOA. We submit the requests, and then that's
Okay,
when
and
we...
they didn't have any problems with it?
No, sir, and all of these rooms have gone through there, and all of them have been permitted except for the one we're speaking of.
Okay, thank you.
No, we do everything to match the house, all the finish, the shingles match, everything's made to, the gutters, everything's made to match the property. This is the one that was being built at the same time, which That one there, as you can see, is the same exact size. That's 2 streets over, and that's where the mistake was made, that the crew started on both jobs. We had 2 contracts in the same subdivision at the same time for the same size room.
Okay. Does the board have additional questions for the applicant? Okay. If not, we have roughly 7 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor. If so, please come forward. For the record, please state your name and address.
Sherman Rackley, 209 Danvers Street, McDonald, 30253.
Okay. All right.
What, you say something?
Just if you have anything to add about why they should be granting it.
Well, one reason why I think you should grant the approval is because my property out there is the biggest property in the whole subdivision. And I got room going around where they couldn't put another building, so they had to give me all that property. And we pretty good ways away from the neighbors in the back. So we in pretty good shape. From the back of the the patio to the property line.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's about it.
Thank you,
That's about
sir.
it.
All right. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Okay, well, you may be seated. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. We'd also like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. Okay, I don't see anyone coming forward. Does the board have additional questions for the applicant or staff?
Yes,
HOA submit a letter? Did the HOA submit a letter to
Yes.
approve, and said they approved it?
Yes, I did receive today around 2 p.m. a letter with the HOA stating that they did approve the screen room.
Have any neighbors complained or been vocal or wanted it?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay.
Okay.
His brother's his neighbor, actually.
Oh,
The
I
other
guess he
screen room I
got the
built.
fix then.
Just to-
Mr. Rich.
Yes, I have a question about the lot itself. It's, of course, like others, it's, or it's unlike others, it's, kind of in the curve. And I think the house itself, it is about as far as it could go without encroaching, through the front setback line, it looks like, just,
I'm not, this is Dee Rose, she handles my permits, she's been with me about 25 years, and so I would ask her that question before I give you an incorrect answer.
Okay.
Do you know what the front setback was?
Well, because of the way that lot is curved, the setback for the front was 50, and that's like one of only 2 on that lot that had that, and the rear was 40. Looks like it was rezoned in 2013, I believe, was what I read in the minutes. And so the way that they placed the house on the lot, they pushed it all the way to, if you're facing it from the front, they pushed it all the way to the left. So that's why you have all of that open space on the right and toward the rear, but then the way the house is angled, that's why it intrudes into that 40-foot setback, because of the way they angled it into the lot, I guess to avoid that.
it looks like I guess to take full advantage of the 40-foot setback, you would have had to build the house at an angle,
And it being an
and I
existing
think otherwise,
patio.
that would have, that might have given you some room to, put this addition within the setback if you...
Right.
So that,
Right.
you're just looking at it, on the plat, so...
And it didn't encroach, they had an open patio. So the open patio was okay, I guess, based on the way it's zoned. That open we didn't go outside the boundaries of the open patio. But like you said, the way it's angled, you get that corner that's encroaching in on the setback.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any additional questions for the applicant? Okay, if not, we'd like to call the case, please.
VR 2404, Factory Direct Remodeling of Atlanta of Woodstock, Georgia, requests a variance for property located at 209 Danvers Street in land lots 143 and 144 of the 6th District. The property consists of 0.49 plus or minus acres, and the request is for relief from development standards. District 5, presented by Heidi Lyhut, Planner 1.
Yes. We've heard the case. Do we have a motion?
Yes. I make a motion to approve VR 2404.
Okay. Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. I'm sorry.
Chair, if I may, if we are approving the variance, staff will recommend 2 conditions.
Okay.
Do you want me to go ahead and?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
For the first condition, all other existing structures, future structures, and future additions to any portion of the principal dwelling or accessory structures shall comply with the building setback standards as indicated on the final plat. The second condition, this approval for setback reduction shall be limited to the construction of the enclosed addition to the subject property as indicated on the site plan dated April 1st, 2024.
Okay. We have 2 conditions by staff, and we have a motion. Mr. Richardson, does that motion include staff recommendation?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And we have a second. Does that second include staff
Yes.
recommendation? Okay, we have a motion and a second, which includes staff recommendation. All in favor? Or let me ask, any further questions? Okay, all in favor? Motion carries unanimous. All right, call the next case, please.
VR 2405, Liddell Puckett and Laura Ross of McDonough, Georgia, requests a variance for property located at 235 New Hope Road and land lots 175 and 178. The property consists of 4.03 plus or minus acres, and the request is for relief from development standards. District 1, presented by Heidi Lyhut, Planner 1.
Good evening again, Chair, board members, and citizens of Henry County. The item before you is for property located at 235 New Hope Road. The request is for a variance to reduce the front yard setbacks from 75 feet to 11.7 feet for the purpose of bringing an existing accessory structure into compliance. The subject property is shown in your exhibit books and on the overhead projection. This slide shows the aerial view of the property. The current zoning is RA, residential agricultural. This is the survey submitted by the applicant. As mentioned earlier, the request is for a variance to reduce the front yard setbacks to bring an existing accessory structure into compliance with the current RA standards. The shed has been located on the property since 2004 as per public tax records. There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the subject property in question because of its topography that are applicable to other lands or structures in the same zoning district. As you can see on the screen, the subject property has various steep declines in terrain and a stream buffer that limits placement of the existing metal shed. The applicant plans to use this accessory structure as a storage and work shed. Staff recommends approval of the applicant's request for relief from developmental standards to reduce the front yard setback requirement from 75 feet to 11.7 with the following conditions that are on the screen. Thank you, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does the board have questions for staff?
Not at this time.
Okay. I have one question. How did it's been on the property since 2004. How did it get here today?
Yes, Chair. So the current homeowners, they bought the property back in 2023. The existing shed was already there since '04. The previous homeowner didn't take out the required permits, so that's why we're here right now. The current homeowner did try to take out permits to have plumbing, electrical, as a work shed, so that's why we're here.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. All right. Any further questions for staff? Okay. If not, at this time, we'd like the applicant to come forward. Please state your name and address, please.
Liddell Puckett, 235 New Hope Road, Madonna, 30252.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything to add to staff recommendation?
Well, I just wanted, just for confirmation, there was no plumbing. What actually brought us here was when we took possession of the property, like Heidi mentioned, everything was already existing. There was no electrical in there, right? And so me and my wife wasn't finna walk out there in the dark. So when we had the electrical contractor come to try to add electricity to it, he came down to the county to pull his permit, which was rejected because there was no proof of the existence of the structure. So that's what kind of brought us here and kind of led us to where we are today. But there's no plumbing involved. I'm using it just like any typical man. I just need a place to put my toys and, you know, there's a few saws and some toolboxes so I can do my handiwork. All right?
All right. All right. Thank you. Does the board have questions for the applicant? Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, we still have 9 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor. I don't see anyone coming forward. We'd like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. Okay. Does the board have additional questions for the applicant or staff?
No.
Okay, if not, I'd like to call the case.
VR 2405, Liddell Puckett and Laura Ross of McDonough, Georgia, request a variance for property located at 235 New Hope Road and land lots 175 and 178. The property consists of 4.03 plus or minus acres, and the request is for relief from development standards. District 1, presented by Heidi Lyhut, Planner 1.
Okay, we've heard the case. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve with the staff conditions.
Okay. We have a motion to approve with staff conditions. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Risher. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Call the next case, please.
RZ 2404, Anos Development Corp., Amassapequa, New York, requests a rezoning from C1 Neighborhood Commercial to C3 Highway Commercial for property located on Highway 1941, east of Mentor Drive and Land Lot 109 of the 3rd District. The property consists of 40 plus or minus acres, and the request is for commercial development. District 1, presented by Taylor Solomon, Planner 3.
Good evening, Chair and board members. The rezoning request in front of you is for property located at Highway 1941, just north of Spalding County line. The property is currently zoned C1 Neighborhood Commercial, and the applicant is requesting a rezoning to C3 Highway Commercial for a commercial development with retail, restaurants, gas stations, and flex office space for trade businesses. The subject property is highlighted in green on each map, including the zoning for C1 Neighborhood Commercial. Nearby, an undeveloped commercial property, undeveloped R8 property, a manufactured home park in Spalding County, and single-family residences in the city of Hampton. The future land use designation for this property is commercial. On the slide before you, you will see various department comments regarding infrastructure and public safety. The details of each department's comments can be found in your exhibit books. This slide will show the survey of the property provided by the applicant. And before you, you will see the concept plan received by staff. The property would appear to be developable as presented and meets the highway corridor and C3 zoning standards. The site plan is conceptual in nature and will need to meet all of the development standards at the time of permitting. On February 21st, 1989, the Henry County Board of Commissioners approved a rezoning request for the subject property as part of a larger tract of land from RA Residential Agricultural to C1 Neighborhood Commercial for commercial development with 2 conditions. The subject property had a proposed rezoning from C1 to MU Mixed Use District, for a flex space use consistent of industrial office and commercial uses, RZ-1906, which was officially withdrawn by planning staff June 9th, 2023. The applicant is requesting a rezoning of 40 plus or minus acres from C1 to C3 for commercial development with retail, restaurants, gas stations, flex space, and office space for trade businesses. Flex spaces refer to office space for specialty and retail businesses. The future land use map designation for this property is commercial and will support the rezoning of C3. The proposed development of this site is consistent with the purpose of the C3 Highway Commercial Zoning District, which is intended to provide areas of commercial activities, which provides products and services that require locations with the highest level of access to major highways and regional transportation systems. The subject property is within the limits of the Highway Corridor Overlay District and would be required to meet all of the standards within. Currently, the property is undeveloped and the site appears to be physically capable of being developed as proposed. All roads will be private. All of the interior roads, will be private. Staff recommends approval for the rezoning from C1 Neighborhood Commercial to C3 Highway Commercial with the following conditions. Thank you for your time, and I'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Does the board have questions for staff?
No questions at this time.
Okay. I just have one question. Has the applicant stated what his intentions may be in terms of the property? What do they plan to build there?
The applicant has not provided what exact businesses, but they will provide a gas station, retail businesses, as well as the commercial trade offices.
Okay.
And I believe the applicant is here this evening.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions for staff?
Is there anything that's excluded that they can't put there?
Absolutely. Being as though that this property is located in the highway corridor district, they have to adhere to those restricted businesses as well, which would be self-storage, salvage junk, wrecking, recycling, waste, scrap yards, adult bookstores, pawn shops, rooming and boarding houses, automotive repair, and more. And we've also placed additional conditions as well that will be on the screen.
All right, thank you. Any additional questions for staff? Okay, if not, we'd like the applicant to come forward. Sir, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. John Jordan, I'm with Max Walker Jordan, PC, 205 Corporate Center Drive, Suite B, Stockbridge, Georgia, 30281. This property, as staff mentioned, it's a large parcel of approximately 40 acres right here on the southern end of Henry County, right at the Spalding County, Henry County line. It is south of what used to be referred to as the mega site, which I understand is still being planned for large mixed use or multi-use commercial, office, and residential uses. It's also across the street here on Mentor Drive from a large property that was recently annexed into the city of Hampton for a mixed-use residential commercial development as well. Surrounding properties include a manufactured home residence site on the Spalding County side. Heavy commercial and other trade businesses are also located in the vicinity, including Sidney Lee Welding Supply, Sweetie's Flea Market in the north, Ritchie's Tires and Automotive Car Care Center, Georgia Yard Barns, TLC Services Heating and Air, and JMRS Metal Roofing, just to name a few. This slide shows the subject property is even with the subject property on 1941 looking south. You can see the manufactured home park here on the southern boundary line of the subject property. This is showing 1941 going north. You can see right at the Henry County sign, that starts the subject property right there. We're requesting that the property be rezoned from C1 residential commercial or neighborhood commercial to C3 highway commercial in order to develop a mixed commercial use project with a variety of different commercial mixtures and businesses. The development would include traditional retail. It would include restaurant space. It would include just one gas station on the line there, as well as flex space, office and commercial flex space. The flex space would be located towards the back of the property, further closer to Highway 3, and the traditional commercial and restaurants would be on the side that is fronting 1941. We're not seeking any type of industrial uses or industrial zoning. Staff has recommended also a list of prohibitions on their conditions of heavier types of commercial uses that we won't be allowed to do either. This is in addition to the prohibitions that are in the highway corridor overlay district. The prohibited uses would include absolutely no automotive service, repair, or maintenance businesses, no laundromats, no tattoo parlors, no pawn shops, and no vape stores, just to name a few of the prohibitions. One of the major reasons for this request is to be able to provide flex space, office commercial flex space in the back of the property. Flex space is very popular for trade businesses because it offers or allows them to use the property or building for a variety of different uses all in one building. You could have, of course, your office space for the company would be located there. The front of the company, you would have a display area for the general public to come in, as well as in the back, you'd have a large space with some bay doors that would house work vehicles, machinery, and equipment for the trade business. Trade businesses like plumbers, like HVAC contractors, things like that. This is an example of the type of flex space that you might see. This is ServPro, and as you can see, you've got some display areas up front. You'll have some offices and, of course, equipment and trucks in the back of the building. This is the site plan. As you can see along 1941 here, you'll have your traditional commercial and retail with restaurant space. At the very southern end is where the gas station is planned, and then towards the center you have additional traditional retail and office space, traditional retail and commercial space with the flex spaces being 4 buildings in the back. One of the reasons for the flex space is there's a growing need for trade businesses in the community. And with the growing need of trade businesses, there's a growing need for this type of space for them to do their work from. You can see already in the vicinity, there's a lot of trade businesses located there. So the need in this area is pretty big. Additionally, even though there's a residential commercial development going up across the street in the future, Even with those rooftops, there's not enough people to support 40 acres of nothing but traditional commercial retail. So we need a variety of commercial uses, including the flex space in the back, in order to be able to sustain a successful development. Additionally, this property is on septic. It's not served by sewer, and even though a large septic system will be installed that can maintain the planned uses, including the traditional commercial and retail in the front, it's not going to be enough to sustain septic for nothing but traditional and retail and restaurants and places that the general public visits, such as what's planned on 1941. So the flex space would offer a less impact on that septic system, less occupants, less general public coming to see them. It's more of a workspace there. The ULDC, as staff mentioned, describes the purpose of the C3 zoning, which we're looking for as intended to provide areas for commercial activities which provide products and services that require locations with the highest level of access to major highways and regional transportation systems. This location on Highway 1941 is ideal for this type of zoning. You might notice as well in the zoning map, it is already C1, and just a few parcels to the north you already have in the darker red some C2 and even some C3 that are already there. So it is consistent with the current uses of the area. It's also, as staff mentioned, consistent with the future land use map. Staff has recommended approval subject to conditions that my client has reviewed and is completely on board with. And so we would gratefully appreciate the board following staff suit and recommending approval as well, subject to those conditions.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have questions for the applicant?
I have one. As far as the total land area, you're using a lot for the septic system and that. Is there any of the other area, you know, this is a conceptual map, is there more you could squeeze onto that property? Because you've got that gas line going through there too.
We do, and that's going to prevent it from being just cluttered with businesses. What we've shown on the site plan is the impact plan, right? We don't have anything planned for the other green space, which is great because it is more natural and more aesthetically inviting to the public too. And to that end, you'll also notice the parking is in the side and in the back, so that along 1941 you'll have nice green space and aesthetic looks on the front as well.
That's the only question I had.
Okay. All right, if there's no other questions, you may be seated, sir.
Okay, thank you.
At this time, we have 10 minutes for anyone else wishing to speak in favor. I'm sorry, 2 minutes. It's a big difference. I don't see anyone coming forward. We'd also like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. Okay. Does the board have additional questions for staff or the applicant? Okay, if not, we may call the case.
RZ 2404, Amos Development Corp. of Massapequa,
New York, requests a rezoning from C1 Neighborhood Commercial to C3 Highway Commercial for property located on Highway 1941 east of Mentor Drive in Land Lot 109 of the 3rd District. The property consists of 40 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a commercial development. District 1, presented by Taylor Solomon, Planner 3.
Okay, we've heard the case. Do we have a motion?
I'll move that we approve with staff conditions.
Okay. I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Call the next case, please.
RZ 2405, the Revive Land Group LLC of Atlanta, Georgia, requests a rezoning from RA Residential Agricultural to R5 Single Family Residence for property located at 250 and 382 Nail Road and land lots 177 and 178 of the 6th District. The property consists of 38.286 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a single family and townhome development. District 5, presented by Kenta Lanham, Planner 3.
Good evening, Chair, board members.
Good evening.
County.
Good evening.
The item before you is a property located at 250 and 382 Nail Road and is 38.286 plus or minus acres. Property is currently zoned RA Residential Agricultural. The rezoning request in front of you today is to rezone the property from RA Residential Agricultural to R5 Single Family Residence for the purpose of a single family cluster home and townhome development fee simple. That is the zoning map showing RA and the future land use map of the subject property. That top sliver has actually a future land use map designation of medium density suburban, supporting up to 4 dwelling units per acre net. And the majority of the property to the south has that high density suburban, supporting up to 8 dwelling units per net acre. This is the conceptual site plan that was submitted by the applicant. The plan indicates 42 cluster homes and 80 townhome units for a total of 122 units. We see that the townhome development, townhome portion rather, is primarily in the southern portion with that stream along the south property line. Kind of in the north and the west, we see those cluster home developments on those detached cluster homes. Here are a few elevations of the cluster home as provided by the applicant and elevations by for the townhome portion. This map and table shows a few existing developments in the area that are similar to the proposed development. We see to the north Newberry subdivision and to the northeast, that is the Kelly Acres subdivision, both offering a mixture of single-family detached and townhome units. Again, that site plan there, and some comments that we received from various departments. I do want to comment that the Henry County Water Authority in their letter stated that water and sewer service is available to the subject property. However, sewer line capacity is contingent upon the completion of the Henry County Water Authority Upper Birch Creek Sanitary Sewer Line Extension Project, and that is estimated to be complete in the mid-2025, mid-next year. Some other comments from the school board and public safety. The applicant, as I mentioned, is requesting to rezone the subject property from RA to R5 for that single-family cluster home and townhome development. Again, 42 cluster home units and 80 townhome units for a total of 122 units. The multifamily development will need to comply with the design standards for multifamily developments as per our ULDC. And portion of that subject property, as I mentioned, has that designation of medium-density suburban with that majority high-density suburban. The portion designated as medium-density has that density of 3.63 dwelling units per acre, and the portion designated high-density has a density of 5.32, both fitting within their respective density limitations. Overall, that proposed development will have a net density of 5.14 dwelling units per acre. Staff is recommending approval of the applicant's request with the conditions shown on the overhead screen from RA to R5, and that would be for a total of 17 conditions, I believe. I'm sorry, 15 conditions. Thank you so much. I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have questions for staff?
Nail Road is it's two-lane road. Are there any plans to expand that road?
That's an extra question. At this time, there are no plans to widen Nail Road.
Okay. Final question for me at this point. Will there be a traffic impact study based on that statement?
Due to the size and the number of units and the average daily trips, our ULDC would require a traffic impact study, and that is part of our recommended conditions.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, I just have one question. Based on water and sewer 2025 date, what's the expected completion of the project, if approved?
I would not be able to have that information. I believe the applicant would be better suited to
Okay, thank you.
respond to that.
What price range do they?
I do not also have that information, but the applicant, I believe, should be able to provide that.
Okay. All right, any additional questions for staff? If not, I'd like the applicant to come forward. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Michelle Battle with Battle Law, 3562 Habersham at Northlake, Tucker, Georgia, 30084. And we are happy to be here this evening with you to discuss the proposed project off of Nail Road with the Revive Land Group. As staff has already indicated, and I'll try not to be redundant and also try to respond to some of the questions that you all have already asked, the project does have a mix of land use designations. The portion that has the single-family detached units directly off of Nail Road has a medium-density suburban designation. Again, the net density on that is no more than 4 units per acre, and we are at 3.62, so we fall within the allowable density. With regards to the back portion of the site, which has a high-density suburban land use designation, which allows up to 8 net units per acre, we're at 5.32. That portion of the property actually has a mixture of uses, both single-family detached and townhomes. The townhomes are kind of nestled within that single-family detached product. I think one of the things that also needs to be stated is that with Hampton Road and going towards the interstate, we know that the West Ridge community was developed around this node. And I think it's very interesting that in the last flume update, that the area around Loop Road and all of that area moving towards the interstate now has a designation of high density mixed use. You then move, and there's kind of like this step down in density where you then move into the high density residential area where the West Ridge cluster home community is actually located. We're on the north side of that cluster home community that's a part of the West Ridge community, and we are separated by them by the stream that's located on the site. So there is buffering between those two neighborhoods that we are proposing. But once again, we are within the density requirements, and you can see the county's vision for this area is to increase density throughout the corridor, including off of Nail Road. This again is the proposal for Somerset at Birch Creek. You can see that we do have, well, you can't really see the creek, but the creek is running along the southern portion, and you do have a nice buffering there where we will not be able to remove trees within that stream buffer to help buffer against the adjacent property. We also note that on the site plan here, you can see that we are proposing off of the northern entrance off of Nail Road, we are proposing those single-family detached homes, kind of more of a winding, gradual street coming into the larger part of the community with a buffer landscaped area along the eastern boundary, giving some protection to the home site on that side. Additionally, as you can see within the interior, we do have a amenity area where there will be a pool and a cabana, I think a dog park as well within that space, as stated in the staff's staff report, and that we are required to maintain. These units will run, from the townhome perspective, will run between 1,600 to 1,800 square feet in size. We anticipate price points between $330 to up to $360K as an initial starting point. Of course, that's based on today's conditions. We certainly know that projections are within this area that prices, for good or for bad, are going to continue to go up. And when we're looking at when these units would actually come on board, and we can talk about that as well, who knows how high those price points will be at that point, but that's what we anticipate now on the townhome side. With regards to the single-family detached product, we're looking at units between 1,800 to 3,000 square feet with pricing starting at about $390 in the high threes, going up to $480 or so, depending upon the types of amenity upgrades that the homeowners may seek. This again is the site plan. You can see that we are traversed by that stream. We are staying out of the stream buffer, so there's going to be wonderful green space and that stream kind of coming through the site. We think that that adds a nice amenity to the overall community. So we're not building out again at its maximum. Remember that the back portion is a high-density area, and we chose not to do all townhomes in that area. You can see that we have a mixture of units, which also kind of buffered. We started out with 176 units, but after discussions with staff and looking at some of the challenges on the site, we opted to drop to the 122 units that you see presented to you today. These are some of the examples. The Revive Land Group is a land developer. So these are some of the examples of the single-family detached units that we would be looking at for the site, obviously with a mixture of textures, with some brick facades, some board and batten, other fiber cementatious materials, with the sides of the home typically being hardy plank, but landowners or property owners having obviously the option to have more brick or other features along the exterior of their homes. And these are some of the examples of the types of townhome units that could also be developed on the site. All of them will have 2-car garages, and we are very excited about the proposed project. And in terms of timing, we would be looking, the requirement that we wait until the sewer gets installed is not problematic. It'll probably take about a year or so to get through the land development process between platting and the issuance of the land disturbance permit, and then getting those units installed in terms of our horizontal development. So we feel like that time frame is well within the time frame that we would actually be looking to do that land development, with units not being available until probably sometime either late 2025 or sometime mid-2026. So we feel like that timing works, and we will be conducting the traffic impact study. Certainly Nail Road is a 2-lane highway. We do 2-lane roadway. We know, and clearly from the county's perspective, that this is intended to hold more traffic, so we can only hope that the county will work cooperatively with the developer, knowing that this is the direction that the county is pushing this area into, that right-of-way improvements may come up on a SPLOST for Nail Road, but until that time, we will be responsible for making whatever improvements there are as required under, that are project-related improvements along Nail Road. So with that, I will reserve the rest of my time, and thank you.
Thank you. Does the board have questions for the applicant?
Yes, what's the heated floor space for these townhomes and the detached homes?
In terms of the heated floor space, again, we were looking at the single-family units being 1,800 to 3,200 square feet, and the townhome units being between 1,600 and 1,800. I think the staff report indicated 1,200 as a minimum, but we were okay with putting the minimum up to the 1,600 for the townhomes and the single-family at 1,800.
Thank you.
Which is more in alignment with what we've already seen coming within the area.
Certainly.
Okay. Any further, Mr. Richardson? Mr. Richardson?
Yes, I think this is probably a question for the staff. These homes are quite close together, but could you tell us what the overall gross density would be for this development?
Yes,
guess
sir.
considering the areas that can't be built and easements and rights-of-ways.
I think I would need to do a quick calculation for that gross density unless you have it.
I don't have the gross density, but certainly the net density takes out all of the right-of-way, all of the right-of-way as well as the stream buffer areas, and we are, again, below the density allowed. The land use requires no more than a net density of 8 units per acre, and we're at 5.3, I believe, on the net density, particularly on the area where you have all of the stream. So we are well under that requirement.
Yes, and to answer your question, Mr. Risher, the gross density I have is 3.19 dwelling units per acre, with that net density total 5.14.
It looks like that there's a lot of parts of this property that can't be used.
You are exactly right, and that's the green space, but we still don't exceed the net density allowed under the high-density designation.
And as far as the applicant is concerned, is that what influenced their layout proposal, at the town homes and?
Yeah, I mean, I think the nice part about how the layout stands right now is that the townhomes are nestled into the interior of the site, so they won't really be visible from the surrounding property owners. Additionally, there was a decision made to not have the whole back portion townhomes. There's certainly enough, if we took out the townhomes, that we could put a lot more, the single-family detached on the back portion, we could have put in a lot more townhomes, but we opted to have that mixture on the site, which also lowered the density, because again, we started with 176 units. I think we had over 100 townhomes that were proposed, but we dropped that density down to the 122, with no more than 80 townhomes.
Okay, any further questions for the applicant? Okay, if not, we
Thank
have
you.
2 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor. Okay, 2 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor. Okay, I don't see anyone coming forward. We'd like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition.
And Chair, before that timer starts, I would like to make 2 quick comments.
Okay, please.
That would be regarding some of our conditions here. Just a quick clarifying note. Condition 6 specifies, it's actually a typo that says not to exceed 80 single-family cluster home and 80 townhome units. That should read the not to exceed 42 cluster homes and 80 townhome units. Just wanted to make that clarification for the record. Also, I wanted to note that condition 15 provides a 10% rental cap for the subdivision. For the
A 10% rental cap?
10% rental, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Those were the only 2 comments I wanted to make before we get into opposition. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Brittany Montroyce. I live at 55 Alexander Road, McDonough, Georgia, 30253. I just want to state I've lived in Henry County for over 40 years. I own a CPA firm in the county. I'm a chamber member, Leadership Henry graduate. I serve on several boards right now. I live, work, play, worship here. I've never lived anywhere else. I'm going to go straight down the rezoning evaluation report. Criteria 1, the basis of this rezoning is on the Flume map of 2045 that was recently voted in. Our district strongly opposed this. We were told it would not be changed, and then after the public meeting, there was a closed-door meeting that changed it to be able to be zoned to R5 afterwards. The fact that this is all being based on that this is in line with the Flume is for 2045, and we were told that we should not get too concerned because this comes up for vote every 5 years, and that this map was for 2045. That's 20 years in advance. We do not want this in our area. We do not want to change from RA.
Let me state, We have, the clock is continuing to run. If
I know,
everyone wants to
I'm
speak.
trying to go as fast as I can.
The clapping is just going to eat up your time. So
Okay.
I would advise you to limit your clapping.
That's fine.
And voice your opinion. Thank you.
Okay, so criteria one, with this being stated all throughout the thing, that this is based on 2045 flume, I think is not reasonable, because we don't want that anyway. Criteria three, amending the zone, not having some type of positive impact in our area. There is no positive impact except for the developer. Criteria five, the impact to the adjacent property owners. I am one of those. Again, lived here for a very long time. There is an extreme burden to traffic and roads in our area if this passes. It's stated in the presentation that there would be approximately 300 people added to our area. Moving into criteria 6 and 7, that's a minimum of 600 cars. This is a 2-lane road. There is nothing proposed for more roads, only deceleration and acceleration. Our county can't handle the people we have right now. So you could ask 1,000 people here, they would all tell you we do not have an infrastructure for this currently. So I do not see how that is going to be able to be handled, especially when it's not even in the plan. The school board study states we would need more classrooms, and those schools would be Oakland Elementary, Luella High School. These schools already are ranking low in our county. They do not have what they need currently. They do not have a good teacher-to-student ratio. They also propose modular classrooms as an answer to this, which I do not think should be acceptable when you are trying to expand something in a county. You should want to have kids in a physical building. The Water Authority states that it's not ready for it until 2045. We have a well on our property by choice. We do not want county water. That water stream, part of it is on our property. So if you bring all these homes in and you already can't do what you need to do because it's not in place, that impacts us directly. Again, the flume being referenced is very frustrating for us because we were told we would have multiple years to keep adjusting that map because it would not go into place till 2045. So to summarize my points, we do not want this development. We do not want anything changed out of RA. We do not have room for the additional influx of the people, the traffic, the crime, the education needs, the water needs. Our roads cannot handle this traffic currently. We live in this area because it's our home. We enjoy it. We have lived here for over 4 decades. We have deer, rabbits, geese, trees, bees, hummingbirds, water sources, many other natural resources in this particular area of the county that we would like to stay that way. I know that Henry County did not allow development for a long time, and they did need it, and we have done that over the last 20 to 30 years. We've reached a tipping point now that we need to stop development until we have a forward-looking future of putting infrastructure in our county to handle this growth. We don't want to be Atlanta or Chicago. We want to be what we are, a mixture of city and agricultural, and if they continue to change zones and bring this many people in before we are ready, it will not go well at all, and I would hate to leave my home for my whole life because it gets changed and destroyed from people who don't even live here.
Thank you.
Angela Grant, and I'm the property owner at 398 Nell Road. I built the $1 million house on those 10 acres because I wanted peace. I didn't want all the traffic. If I wanted that traffic, I would be living in Atlanta. I live in Henry County. I pay a lot of taxes. There is traffic on our road 24/7 because of people cutting through, because our roads and our infrastructure is not prepared to take on an additional 127 homes. It's already a cut through for traffic. People are already coming on your property, throwing trash out, and this is just going to complicate the matter. I do not want to come out my driveway and have to wait 20 minutes to get out my driveway to go to work. And this development that, oh, natural resource, that water, that is part of the coal reservoir, which is a drinking source, and they're going to disturb that. So I propose that you just disapprove this right now until we can get the infrastructure in place in order to accommodate this. This is all profit, nothing for the community or our families.
Bud Medley at 307 Dale Road. We got more traffic since they paved our road than we can handle now. Every once in a while, we have to get the police out there because some of these fools on these crotch rockets come through there, and we got a curve, and they love to run that curve. We got more traffic coming off of a cut through. We got 2 apartment buildings up at the end of the road at 20 and Nail Road. That'd give us a bunch of property, traffic. And then when it rains, Alexander Road floods out. The county has to come out there and put road closed. There on my road, Nail Road with a creek, they're talking about this 35 acres, that floods over. And on that 35 acres, backside of that is just wetland. We can't, there's no way we can handle that, plus all this traffic it would put on us. But they're already running the sewage. The pipes are laying on Nail Road, and they're coming off 81, and they done settled with a neighbor of mine on his property for the sewage line with all the pipes. So they intend on getting this done, already putting the sewage in. And it's unreal. And we worked our tails off to get the road paved, and we donated so much of our property to widen the road. Well, I don't know about my neighbors. They're not getting no more of my property to widen that road. And it put that much traffic on that road, it had to be widened to handle that much traffic. Because you can sit there in my driveway, go up out to the mailbox, and if you ain't careful, you're gonna get run over if you're out in front of it. I put a mailbox up with a back door on it where I wouldn't have to go in the street to open the door. So, you sit there in 10 minutes, there'd be 10 to 15 cars come by. Plus, I've called code for the city, because the first part of Nail Road up there, the city limits moved out. We got all kind of trucks, illegal parking, but they ain't doing nothing about it. And then here comes the tractor and trailers down. So not only we contending with just residential traffic, we got the truckers cutting through because it's a cut through. So I'm strictly against it, and I hope y'all agree with me. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Andrews, 152 Nail Road. My property backs up to the proposed property. Until I got here tonight, I had no idea they were talking about going all the way through to Nail Road with these single families in another street. There was no zoning sign for that, so I don't know where that came from. But when you if you come in there and you try to get out of our property, we are landlocked. If you take Nail Road to 20, you got to turn right and go toward Hampton. If you take Oakland Road toward 20, you got to turn right and go to Hampton. If you take Nail Drive, you can't get out because of all the traffic. You just sit there. That way people have learned not to go that way. Nail Drive the other way is still unpaved. Can't get through there. Alexander Road is basically the only way out of our neighborhood. And as they were saying, when it rains, which it hasn't done lately, it floods, and they put signs up, roads closed. We don't know what to do, how to get out. It's pitiful. And another 300 cars on that little road just doesn't make sense. Now, I could see, R2, R3, something like that, but why we jumped all the way to R5 does not make a lick of sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have 9 seconds. I don't see anyone else coming. Okay, does the board have additional questions for anyone wishing for the staff or the applicant? No? It seemed like I had one question. I have a question for staff. Someone mentioned R3 or not going to R5. Would it change the density if this was if it was R3 or opposed to R5?
Yes, it would. And that's a matter of R3 having a larger lot size than R5 would allow for. So with that, more land is dedicated to less lots, and so that density would go down.
Okay. In terms of, and I guess this would go to the applicant, in terms of the number of structures that would be built, would it change the density much, Ms. Battle?
Well, because the single-family detached units certainly would have to be bigger, yes. But I think that I mean, I guess I didn't get my rebuttal time.
No, we
Okay.
don't have any rebuttal time. Unless
Actually,
the
I did.
board-
I had 2
unless the
minutes.
board
I had 2 minutes.
I had
plus.
one question for you.
But
and that
I'll
was
answer
it.
that
But
question.
you don't have a rebuttal on it.
Okay.
If the board. if the
It
board-
would require larger units. However, again, we are within that high-density designation, which allows for the units that we are proposing. And certainly, while I can appreciate the concerns of the community with regards to the flume map was changed. We are required to be consistent with that flume. We have tried to take a position that did not maximize the density on the site, so we're not at the maximum density that we could be. We're at the lower end.
All right, thank you, Ms. Beth. All right, any further questions for the applicant or staff? Okay, if not, I'd like to call the case, please. You may be seated, Ms. Beth.
RZ 2405, the Revived Land Group
LLC of Atlanta, Georgia, requests a rezoning from RA Residential Agricultural to R5 Single Family Residence for property located at 250 and 382 Nail Road and land lots 177 and 178 of the 6th District. The property consists of 38.286 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a single-family and townhome development. District 5, presented by Kenta Lanham, Planner 3.
Okay, we've heard the case. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to deny RZ 2405.
Okay, we have a motion to deny. Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Risher. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Call the next case, please.
RZ 2414, Deborah Rivers of Sharpsburg, Georgia, requests a rezoning from RA Residential Agricultural to C2 General Commercial for property located north of Bill Gardner Parkway, east of Highway 155 South in land lot 211 of the 2nd District. The property consists of 11.68 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a commercial development. District 1, presented by Faith Akuta, Planner 1.
Good evening, Chair, board members, and citizens of Henry County. The rezoning request before you is for property located north of Bill Gardner Parkway, east of Highway 155 South. The applicant is requesting to rezone from RA Residential Agricultural to C2 General Commercial for commercial development. Here is the current zoning map of the property with the subject property outlined in green. The property has a future land use designation of village, which supports the applicant's rezoning request. The village future land use designation is intended to support community centers in outlying areas. These nodes can include a variety of uses, including commercial, office, and housing in a walkable, people-oriented environment. The applicant is requesting this rezoning for a commercial development, which is proposed to be developed with the parcel to the north. The subject property is not currently located in the Highway Corridor Overlay District. However, the parcel to the north is. The 11.68 plus or minus acres in this rezoning request is outlined in blue. The site plan indicates 7 outlots and a detention pond with the anchor store to the north. And here are a few elevations of potential businesses to the area. We also have comments from a few additional county staff regarding this request. Water service and public sewer is currently available to the subject property. Henry County Transportation Plan proposed sidewalks along both sides of Bill Gardner, and the property will be served by Fire Station Number 6, which is approximately 2.4 miles away. Mallard's Landing subdivision. This particular development is near Mallard's Landing subdivision, which is one of the subdivisions in the county with a private airport. The airport sits east of the development and is identified on the screen with red arrows, and the rezoning request is indicated in green. At this time, the building heights are not known. However, staff did reach out to the airport authority regarding this rezoning request. With the airport being a private airport, the FAA guidelines are recommended, not required. This image shows the estimated runway protection zone. The proposed gas station appears to just be outside of the runway protection zone. However, it is important to note that the FAA prohibits gas stations within the runway protection zone. After evaluating the request, staff recommends approval of the request to rezone the property from RA Residential Agricultural to C2 General Commercial with the following 10 conditions listed on the screen. Staff has since added 2 conditions to address the concerns in regard to the airstrip, and I will read them now for the record. Condition 11 reads, the developer shall be required to file Form FAA 7460 prior to the approval of any land disturbance permits. Condition 12, the developer shall relocate the gas station to an area outside of the runway protection zone. With the conditions listed on the screen, there can be further conversations with the applicants from now to the Board of Commissioners regarding the conditions as well as the site plan. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Does the board have questions for staff?
Not at this time.
Okay, if there's no question, we'd like the applicant to come forward, please. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Chair and Board. My name is Mercedes Fagan. I'm an attorney for Locust Grove Development, and the address is 2200 Keys Ferry Court, McDonough, Georgia 30253.
Okay.
So I'll keep it short and sweet. Ms. Akuta did a really good job of presenting the rezoning. Like she said, the property is not located in the overlay district, but we're definitely agreeable to meeting the equivalent architectural and streetscape standards as if the property was located in that overlay district. I do want to clarify with Ms. Akuta, these standards are found in Henry County's ULDC section Site Design Standards for the Overlay District. The architectural standards are found in section 4.02.01E, Architectural Designs, and the streetscape standards are found in section 4.05.05, Public Improvement Standards. Is that correct? For the architectural and the streetscape standards?
For the overlay district?
Yes. Yes, okay. We are agreeable to the recommendations. One thing that I did want to know is recommendation number 5. We're agreeable with preserving and dedicating a right-of-way in exchange for a median break for the property. I know that's something that we may need to discuss with Splosh, but I did want to note that for the record. But with that condition, we are agreeable to all staff's recommendations.
Okay. Does the board have questions for the applicant?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. If there's no question, we have 8 minutes for, you may be seated. We have 8 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in favor. I see no one coming forward. We would like to allot 10 minutes for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. Okay. Does the board have questions for staff or the applicant?
No.
Okay, if not, we'd like to call the case.
RZ 2414, Deborah Rivers of Sharpsburg, Georgia, requests a rezoning from RA, Residential Agricultural, to C2, General Commercial, for property located north of Bill Gardner Parkway, east of Highway 155 South, and land lot 211 of the 2nd District. The property consists of 11.68 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a commercial development. District 1, presented by Faith Akuta, Planner 1.
Okay, we've heard the case. Do we have a motion?
Yes. I'll move to approve with staff recommendations with a couple of minor changes. And that would be number 8, which is about the Highway Corridor Overlay District. It has equivalent architectural and streetscape standards. I want to eliminate those words, and here I'll just read off what I want to have in there. The subject property will meet all standards of the Highway Overlay District as if the property was located within the boundaries of the Highway Corridor Overlay District. And then also, I'd like to add a 13th condition, and that would be that all building heights will be limited to no greater than 35 feet.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? Now, I would like to discuss the fact that you're actually asking that the motion is for them to meet all the requirements of the overlay district, correct? Now, you also stated that they're in the overlay, or according to staff,
They
they're
are
not?
currently not in the overlay. The subject property is in a village designation. All the other land within that village designation in that area is under the Highway Corridor Overlay District requirements. And also, Bill Gardner, which it fronts on, is turning into a 4-lane road through the T-Splosh and that. So, you know, it just seems that that is what the requirement should be.
Thank you for the clarification. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion carries unanimous. Call the next case, please.
The next two cases are associated and will be called together. Comp AM 2401, Hecht Walker Jordan, PC of Stockbridge, Georgia, requests an amendment to the comprehensive plan for property located at 5478 Flakes Mill Road and Land Lot 210 of the 12th District. The property consists of 18.427 plus or minus acres, and the request is to amend the future land use map designation from low-density suburban to low-density mixed use. District 2, presented by Faith Akuta, Planner 1, RZ 2406, Hecht Walker Jordan, PC of Stockbridge, Georgia, requests a rezoning from RA Residential Agricultural to R5 Single Family Residence for property located at 5478 Flakes Mill Road and Land Lot 210 of the 12th District. The property consists of 18.427 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a townhome development. District 2, presented by Faith Akuta, Planner 1.
Good evening again, Chair, board members, and citizens of Henry County. The two requests before you are for the property located at 5478 Flakes Mill Road. The property is currently zoned RA Residential Agricultural with the future land use designation of low-density suburban. The applicant is also requesting to rezone the property from RA Residential Agricultural to R5 Single Family Residence and to amend the future land use map designation from low-density suburban to low-density mixed use to support the concurrent rezoning request RZ 2406. Just to recap, these two cases were presented at the May Zoning Advisory Board meeting. However, there was an error in the legal advertisement for the comprehensive plan amendment. Both the rezoning and comprehensive plan amendment requests will be presented together. However, the comp plan amendment request will be the only case with the public hearing. The associated rezoning will be for vote only. Here we have an aerial view of the map of the property etched out in green. We also have a current zoning map of the property outlined in green. The property has a future land use designation of low-density suburban. The low-density suburban land use designation is intended to maintain the lower-density, single-family character of unincorporated Henry County, but with improved aesthetics and roadway connectivity. Here we have a conceptual site plan submitted by the applicant dated December 7th, 2023. The plan indicates 100 townhome units, which will be required to meet the standards in the multifamily ordinance and the standards of the Highway Corridor Overlay District. Here we have elevations provided by the applicants, and as this project moves forward to the Board of Commissioners, these elevations may change. The closest nearby multifamily development is an apartment complex. It's roughly 2 miles away, and this project is currently under construction. The property sits on Flakes Mill Road within the Highway Corridor Overlay District. The subject property is currently zoned RA Residential Agricultural with the future land use designation of low-density suburban, which supports residential developments up to 2.0 dwelling units per net acre. In addition to the rezoning request, the applicant is requesting a concurrent comprehensive plan amendment to support the rezoning request to amend the future land use designation for the subject property from low-density suburban to low-density mixed use, which would support this proposed development and rezoning request. A change in the future land use map to low-density mixed use is required to support the applicant's rezoning request. Here are a few comments received from additional departments in the county. Water service and public sewer is available to the subject property, and according to the Henry County Transportation Planning Department, it's recommended that the applicant install sidewalks along both sides of Lakes Mill Road from Cook Drive to Panola Road. And this property will be served by Fire Station Number 6, which is approximately 0.5 miles away. After evaluating the request, staff recommends denial of the request to change the future land use map designation of the subject property from low-density suburban to low-density mixed use, as well as denial of the applicant's request to rezone the property from RA Residential Agricultural to R5 Single Family Residence. The project will need to fully comply with the requirements of the multifamily ordinance, meeting the minimum requirements such as detailing the compatible amenities as well as the number of townhome units in a row. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Does the board have any questions for staff?
Not for staff at this time.
Okay. Will the applicant please come forward and please state your name and address for the record?
And while the applicant comes up, I did want to reiterate, we did receive a letter in opposition. I read it in May for the record, but I just want to go on record again that Don and Judy Scarborough did send in a letter to staff expressing opposition of this request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening again, Mr. Chair, members of the board. John Jordan with Hector Walker Jordan, PC, 205 Corporate Center Drive, Suite B, Stockbridge, Georgia, 30281. Our firm is the applicant for this item, and we represent Four Star USA Real Estate Group, which is under contract to purchase this property and develop it into a 100-unit townhome community. With us here tonight from Four Star is Jack Burke and Ringazzoni, as well as the owner of the property, Mr. Mark Crane, and others in support. As staff mentioned, this area is located near the intersection of Flakes Mill Road and Panola Road, close to the DeKalb County line further north. This area has grown over the years, especially with nearby commercial businesses and single-family neighborhoods to the north and to the west. In fact, years ago in 2004, the county was already planning for this development growth when it approached Mr. Crane, the current property owner, to provide a sanitary sewer easement across the subject property in order to provide sewer utilities for the future development of this area. Which he agreed to do, and he did so. This is not a large footprint development, but it would be an ideal property to provide housing products that young professionals single or small families and seniors could actually afford to own in the area without much impact on the community itself. Although the flume does designate this as low-density suburban, that's not really indicative of the character as a whole, as you can see on your map, especially south of the property. In fact, to the west of the property, and you can't really see my marker, is a property zoned for industrial for a online salvage car auction. This property kind of flags all the way to Flakes Mill right across from the subject property. To the south, you also have a property that's zoned C2, that's a self-storage facility, and next to that is a commercial office business building that houses, I believe it's a tax preparation, a weight loss business, and another professional business there as well. And then just 2 parcels down, really just one, you start the heavy commercial, highly traveled area along the Panola Road right here. This is a picture of the intersection of Flakes Mill with Panola Road. Just south of the property is facing north towards the property. You can see that there's 2 shopping centers or 2 large retail centers on each side. The one on the left has a large Ingles shopping center. There's a CVS right here. Back here is another large shopping center with a Goodwill retail store. You have a bar and grill on the side here. You have a dollar store on the other side. Little Caesars here. So you have a lot of businesses already starting at the intersection here. On the right side, you have the Flakes Mill Road. The subject property is right here. This green space is where it starts, and you can see right adjacent to it to the south is that self-storage facility, and then the commercial office space right here. Further down toward the end of the road, you have that intersection with Panola. This is another picture of that self-storage facility with that office commercial space there. And then the subject property, of course, starts at the tree line beyond it. This is the zoning map for the subject property. You can see the commercial right below it. But essentially, you can see that the property is really sandwiched in between all this commercial and the single-family neighborhoods to the north and to the east. That really makes this development an ideal, smooth transitional space between those 2 diametrically opposed types of commercial and then residential. So it's a good opportunity to provide that smooth transition with just 100 units that really doesn't have much of an impact on the area. This is the site plan, and just real quick, the townhomes anticipated, just to remind you, are for 2-story townhomes. You'd be looking at between 1,600 and 2,200 square feet. 2-car garages, mandatory HOA, amenities, a cabana with mail kiosk, dog park, and playground. And you're really looking at price points towards, right now at least, the mid-300,000s. This proposed community, again, wouldn't be a big footprint, but it would provide an attainable homeownership product for people that want to live in this area, including community government and community service employees such as firefighters, teachers, police officers. Right now, if these workers wanted to live in this area, they'd have to rent. They've been basically priced out of homeownership for single-family large housing. This would provide a place for them to actually own their house with a smaller footprint in a townhome community. The county has already recognized the dire need for this alternate affordable housing option to own. In fact, on page 23 of the recently adopted comp plan is talking about this need. Again, this is only 100 units. It's a great transition between the 2 different uses, and it would help to forward this need, this relief for affordable ownership options in Henry County and in this area. And we do have Mr. Mark Crane, who is the owner of the property, that would like to say a few words as well.
Y'all heard from me last time, and I had some other people wanted to speak, so I'm not going to waste a lot of your time. The only couple points I want to make is, you may hear some people say that there's traffic issues, but hey, we taught 4 teenagers how to get on that road, and they never had any problem at all. And it's just not a big deal. Also, you know, back when they put the sewer line in, I didn't want it. The county said, if you don't let us do it, we're going to condemn your property. It's going to make it right for future development, and you should thank us for wanting to do it. And I went along with it because they told me if I didn't, they were going to condemn my land. So, you know, time is now to be able to take advantage of what they said I was going to be able to enjoy. So I humbly ask you to approve this. Anybody else want?
Will you start the 10-minute clock, Mr. Chairman? Or questions?
You can,
I don't want to.
you can carry on. This is the portion for anyone in favor.
Okay, thank you. My name's Sam Durant. I live at 5 Chimney Ridge Trail, Stockbridge, Georgia. That's an unincorporated Stockbridge. Lived there for 32 years with my wife. We've raised 6 children, 2 of which, before the housing went crazy, were able to afford and buy a house. I have 4 other children that will be able to buy houses. They have good jobs, but they're having a hard time finding a place to afford. I'm in favor of this project and the density because it will afford them more of an opportunity to buy and get into the housing market and start their housing ownership process. I think that the project is really well located, and I'm going to have to be quick because other people want to speak. It's located very close to multiple highways, 138, 155, 42. It's located close to 675 and 285, so it's really centrally located for people that want to move into the Atlanta area, in this area, and get around and get anywhere they want to do. So it's got an ideal property setting location for movement. Folks are concerned about traffic. If they're building 100 units, and logically you think about it, there's going to be maybe 200 cars in there. Well, folks, generally speaking, go to work in the morning, 6 to 9 in the morning. According to current stats, I think 12 to 14% of folks are actually working from remote 1 day a week. So that's going to knock your numbers down to like 160 cars. Well, if you have a 3-hour window in the morning and a 3-hour window in the afternoon to get home, that's only about 60 cars an hour. If you have 130 of the cars turning north and 30 of the cars turning south, that's 30 cars in an hour. That's a car every 2 minutes. So that's really not a big impact on the traffic in that area. The average daily trip time on that road is about 6,700 cars per day, according to GDOT. And you ask about, well, schools are overcrowded. Well, if the average household now has about a 1.97 children, I don't know how they got to 7.97, but they did. That's roughly, again, about another 197 kids. If each individual unit had kids, 2 kids in that property, then you're looking at 197 kids. Well, some people don't send their kids to school, they homeschool. Some kids go to private school. So if you broke that down, it's going to be basically about another 160 kids.
Oh, right. Sir, the time has run out for the people in favor of the thing. Sorry about that.
We didn't reset the clock.
That was a total
We did not
of,
reset the clock for 10 minutes.
that was 10 minutes, including the applicant speaking. And at this point, let's take anyone wishing to speak against this proposal.
Good evening, Board. My name is Mildred Schmelz. I'm at 170 Dingscott Court in Allenwood, Georgia. I am a 30-year resident of the Panola, East Atlanta Road, and Fairview Road area. I'm coming to speak in opposition. First of all, I want to thank the Board for your service to the residents here in Henry County. Thank you very much. I'm coming in opposition to this development based on the fact that If you look at that area, and I don't know how many of you have driven through that area, it is total congestion. It is a nightmare. Like I said, I've lived in that area for 30 years. People cut through the area. We have 18-wheelers that are going up and down Panola Road. We have Gwinnett County, Rockdale County, DeKalb County, Clayton County residents that cut through that area, and it is a nightmare. If you drive through there about 4 o'clock, 4:30, it's horrible. We have, the bar and grill there. We have Ingles, we have Family Dollar, Goodwill, Smoke Shop, gas stations, Pizza Hut, CVS. Once again, I thank you, and I think that this needs to be denied, and this company needs to find another place to erect their townhouses. Once again, thank you for your service to the residents here in Henry County.
Good evening, I'm Sharon Lester. I reside at 198 Gabion Loop, Ellenwood, Georgia, 30294. I spoke the last time, so I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I want to make sure I do. And I brought a picture of the street. Am I able to share that? So this is the picture.
Let's move forward. Can you describe the picture or tell us what we have there?
Okay, thank you. So I have lived in the area since 2005, and I purchased our home, or we purchased our home in 2017, since there was no multifamily units and public transportation within the area. The roads that are there, it's currently a 2-lane road, and this is going to increase traffic hazards. There's already issues with the road flooding when it rains, speeders racing down this road, blind spots due to the lack of county maintenance of the overgrown kudzu, trees, and all the garbage that's dumped by community members or whomever. The DOT has already stated that there's no light needed to support this area, even with the hardship of pulling out of our subdivision at Gabion Loop or close by on Cook Road. The picture that she's showing, or that's up there, is the entrance of the subdivision of Gabion Loop, or excuse me, Grants Mill, where I live, and that is on Gabion Loop. So coming out, going to the left, is where the property is that they're proposing this building be placed, and this would impede on our entrance and exit of our subdivision. And then further down to the right, there's Cook Road, and there is a disaster trying to come in and out of there as well when you're turning onto Flakes Mill. Sorry. There was recently a builder that was turned down for their project to increase to 40 homes due to the lack of support with the sewer and the water, which included not being able to support commercial facilities nearby on Fairview Road. This was right across the street from the proposed area that they're speaking about. Having 100 townhomes, you average, that's about 3 to 4 people per home. That would be about an increase of 300 to 400 people. We can't afford all that. We cannot have that many more people. The lines already are impacted when we go to the grocery stores, to the fast food restaurants and things of that nature. I'm asking that you guys consider a development moratorium on this area to reject all applications for mass development such as this until District 2 master plan has been devised by staff and consultants. They're stating that the mid-300,000 range is affordable. However, it is not. It may be to attorneys or to builders, but when you're looking at the underpaid teachers and safety responders with salaries beginning at $15 and $20 an hour based on current job postings, that's not affordable to people. It may be more affordable than the other homes that they're speaking of, but not currently. Also, they mentioned that there was a 2004 sewer, I guess, where the sewer company threatened him to not, if he didn't revamp his sewer line area for this future project. The county stated last meeting that they weren't able to find any supporting documentation in regards to that. I want to know, how can you guys regulate only owners will occupy these buildings versus renters or Airbnb? What are the businesses that would come into our area? It's already oversaturated with gas stations and non-nutritious food items. And then, is the entrance only going to be on Flakes Mill Road where it's currently right now? There's not enough room for them to build the sidewalks that they're proposing that would go down Flakes Mill to Cook Road. So I definitely would ask for you to please oppose this building. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in opposition? If not, does the board have any further questions for the applicant or staff?
Yes, I have a question I guess for staff and the applicant. Now, as a residential area, based on sewage, how many single-family dwellings will occupy this property?
Based on sewage, how many single-family dwellings can occupy?
Yes. I believe the owner stated that there is sewage on the property.
Yes, that's correct. It is sewage on the property, but that question may be better addressed by the Water Authority as far as what they could handle.
Okay. I think I asked a question before, did the owner consider single-family dwellings? And I think the intended, the purchaser felt like this wasn't feasible for them, and that's a concern for me.
Well, the purchaser right now, I don't even know if they do single-family homes much. This is the project that they put forth. As far as the traffic goes, they did purchase from an engineer a traffic study who reviewed all the traffic, the impact from it, and did not have a problem with it, did not see an issue with that. As far as the sewer capacity that you mentioned for the single-family homes, if they came in, the Henry County Water Authority already vetted the sewer capacity for this project. We had to actually get that vetted and get the letter in with the application before we could even file it. So there was no issue on that end for sewer either. And I'd have to ask Mr. Crane, but I'm thinking that at least my timeline, and I could be wrong, is that Mr. Crane provided that sewer capacity even before the local neighborhoods were even put up. And now when it's his time to come and say, take advantage of that development that was available because of his ask, he's being turned down because of 100 rooftops. So it's,
Okay. I guess my question is, have we considered single-family dwellings there opposed to townhomes?
I'd have to ask Four-Star and Mr. Crane on that one.
Hey there, good evening. My name is Jack Burke with Four-Star Group, 3330 Cumberland Boulevard, Atlanta, Georgia. Yes, we in our analysis of the property, we did consider several different uses. However, due to development costs, the cost of the land itself, single-family detached is not financially feasible for us at this time.
Okay.
Also, like to add as well.
Yes, I'd like to add as well, this is Renato Ghisoni with 4-Star, that to also consider the long-term vision for this area. If you consider that low-density residential has been in this area for over decades, but over time has been amended to low-density mixed use and other higher density uses. Consider that market changes and we have to adapt to meet the market, and that's what we're proposing today for townhouse developments to meet that market need. So that's why we think townhouses would be more appropriate than single-family detached.
Any further questions?
No.
What's the square footage of this townhouses?
They would range, typical range is about 16 to 2,000 square feet, 1,600 to 2,000 square feet.
What's the price point?
Based on our analysis of today's market, it would be mid-threes. Of course, we're not looking at any units being ready to be sold for, it's going to take another maybe year for a permitting process. Our development takes about 12 to 16 months, and then a builder would, 90 to 120 days to construct a unit. So we're talking several years from now, 2025, 2026. But in our analysis of today's market, it would be mid-threes.
Any further questions?
No, not on my part.
I did have one for staff. As under the current flume, what would the highest density for a single family be?
So under the current flume, the highest density would be our RM8 zone district, which is our residential mobile home zone district.
Okay, what, I guess under the current flume, what would be the highest one they could rezone to? You may have answered that way. So I'm basically, how many houses can they get on that?
So you speaking in terms of like the density?
Yeah, and what's maximum density under the current flume?
Under the current flume, under low-density suburban, is 2.0 dwelling units per net acre.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any further questions?
No.
All right, let's please call the case.
I'll first call the comp plan. Comp AM 2401, Hecht Walker Jordan, PC of Stockbridge, Georgia, requests an amendment to the comprehensive plan for property located at 5478 Flakes Mill Road in land lot 210 of the 12th District. The property consists of 18.427 plus or minus acres, and the request is to amend the future land use map designation from low-density suburban to low-density mixed use. District 2, presented by Faith Akuta, Planner 1.
All right, do I have a motion?
Yes, I'd like the motion to follow staff recommendation of Comp Plan AM 24-01 to deny.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? All right, that motion passes unanimously. I get, call this, call the second case.
Yes. RZ 2406, Hecht Walker Jordan, PC of Stockbridge, Georgia, requests a rezoning from RA Residential Agricultural to R5 Single Family Residence for property located at 5478 Flakes Mill Road in land lot 210 of the 12th District. The property consists of 18.427 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a townhome development. District 2, presented by Faith Akuta, Planner 1.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion again to follow staff recommendation of RZ 2406 to deny.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
All right. I believe that concludes our cases for tonight. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Or, am I correct? Okay,
Yeah,
thank
we don't
you.
have any more cases.
Adjourn. I had these eyes like, oh, am I right?
Thank you.